Okay, let's get to it, man. So welcome to the Bill and Will Show. It's my boy AB. I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Yeah, so my name's Austin Burnett. I'm a sports broadcaster. I kind of fell in love with the whole thing of sports broadcasting when I was about 7 years old, and started playing Madden, and then I started getting into playing, college football, NCAA video games, and I grew up in one of the Taj Mahals of college football in South Bend, Indiana, where I still am a Notre Dame fan. So. We so good?
We're good.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, yeah. No, you're good. So yeah, I kind of grew up in the the Taj Mahals of college football, and South Bend, Indiana, where Notre Dame is, and I'm a huge Notre Dame fan. I went to Arizona State University to study sports journalism. It was an awesome program. I got to cover the Final Four. I got to cover the Final Four. I got to go to a college football national championship game between Alabama and Clemson. That's Alabama ended up winning that one before Deshaun Watson came back and won the next match. But yeah, I've just been a huge fan of sports ever since I kind of had a football in my hand when I was 3 years old. So it's just been awesome. I love what I do, and I wouldn't trade anything that I do for the world.
Well, I definitely appreciate you coming in, filling in for old Gibson, man. He's on vacation in Seattle right now with his son. So we're gonna get into a couple. There's a lot of things going on right now. So let's get into the big news with Texas, since we on that tip of NCAA. They're gonna have fans in the stands.
Yeah, no, it kind of just came across the waiver wire here a little bit ago that they're gonna allow 50% of fans in their stadium. Which, I mean, if you look across the national landscape of college football, I mean, almost every university has came out and said, I mean, even the Ivy League, they came out and canceled all of their fall sports. So for the University of Texas to kind of come out and say, hey, we're going to allow 50% of fans, I think that's not only risky, but that's huge news. Because, I mean, Texas, the state of Texas, I mean, Greg Abbott, he's been very prominent on, opening and keeping things open, but doing it in a safe way. And for the University of Texas just to come out and say, hey, we're going to just allow 50% of fans, and it's kind of unprecedented, because no other school, we haven't seen any other school even say that we're going to allow like 25% capacity to any of these football games. So for them to just come out and say, oh, we're going to allow 50% of 93,000 at Memorial Stadium over there in Austin, it's kind of unprecedented. And I think it's personally kind of risky, and I mean, we've started to see the numbers die down across the college football landscape. I mean, Notre Dame, they tested 103 student athletes a couple weeks ago, and then they had 0 cases. They did have one case come up, but again, the COVID-19 numbers have gone down across the student athlete landscape. I know about a month ago we saw University of Clemson had 28 positive cases, and now those numbers have taken a nosedive down as well. So things are looking promising, but for them to just come out and say we're going to allow 50% of 93,000, I think I don't know. I think it's risky, but hey, I don't know. We're going to see how it turns out.
For me, I think Texas should do it. I think being the biggest university in the land, I think they should be the ones that are the ones everyone else follows. I think Texas should be the one spearheading, and if it falls short and it doesn't work, at least they tried.
Right.
They shouldn't be like any other little schools. I don't want to disrespect any other
Oh,
schools,
no, yeah, I mean,
but I think they should spearhead this thing and see if it works. 50,000, like you said, it is a risky. 50,000 people in one spot after what's going on now is very risky, but
I think it's doable. If you have barriers or something like that and space these fans out at least 6 feet or something like that, I think it's doable. I mean, if you look at stadiums like the Big House or the Horseshoe at Ohio State, I mean, these stadiums house over 100,000 fans. If you cut that down to 25%, that's still 30,000 fans or so.
Sure.
That's still 30,000 fans or something like that. It's doable. And if you can space these people out, I think you're going to first have to start with with the students. I mean, you're going to have the students in there because that's part of their tuition, and then you're going to think about the band. I mean, just those students and band alone, and maybe some season ticket holders. You spread them out, you got some crowd noise going there.
Definitely got some crowd noise in your advantages. I think I'm ready to hear now what the Texas school districts are going to do now for the actual school districts. They're going to follow suit with those guys and try to have football for the state of Texas, which is such a big thing in Texas. But no, I like it. I think they set the bar. Now everybody else comes where they want to come in at, but it's very interesting that did come through. That they did say, hey, we're gonna start at 50,000 or we're 40,000 wherever they start at, and then we're gonna see. But big news from Texas.
Yeah, and then kind of more here locally. I was talking to lead football head coach Clint Hartman, and he said his team's gonna play. He doesn't care if they're gonna have to play some independent schools or something like that. He is going to make sure that his kids get a senior football season for these seniors because as someone who's played high school football before, it's a very, it makes your blood pump a little extra more, knowing that you get that senior season, you get to show out and play the sport that you love. He said that they're gonna go out and find some teams. They'll go play out in a cornfield or something like that. But no, I mean it's very important. And his message was he's gonna make sure that his senior student athletes get a football season. So that's kind of a local, more high school football scale. I know. We're at the home of Friday Night Lights, so you got to have football in the fall.
You have to. I think a lot of student athletes depend on, and for the most part, look forward to their student athletes, but a lot of students are athletes before they're students in their mind. And they look forward to
guilty.
They look forward to going to school to play football, and they need that. A lot of kids won't go to school if they don't have that extra push, and I know it's sad, but it's the reality of it right now in sports with football and basketball and other sports. But I'm glad to hear that Texas stepped out because they should be in the forefront with schools like Notre Dame, like you said, and Michigan and Ohio State. I wonder what's going to happen with those schools next because the Big Ten came out and said what they said about non-conference games. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen there.
Yeah, and actually, and just one more point about college football. I don't know if you had the chance to see this, but Notre Dame actually was in talks with the University of Alabama to play Week 1, which obviously, I mean, if you watch college football,
that's a big game.
This had arguably the chance to be the most watched college football game of all time, right up there with Texas USC back in 2005 and 2006. No, I mean Notre Dame. They were talking with the Alabama athletic director, and they have a home series coming up in about 9 years. But I mean, people want to see games being played right now. So, Jack Swarbrick at Notre Dame was talking to the Alabama athletic director to try and see if they can get something going for a big time Week 1 matchup, and then Bama goes and schedules BYU. So hey, you can't say Notre Dame doesn't try to play a tough schedule here. So they tried, but they didn't get a deal done. But we'll get to see Notre Dame and Alabama square up.
Go Cougs!
Go Cougs!
Go Cougs!
Go Cougs! Go Cougs! Yeah, that's their little symbol there.
That was a good one, man. I like Texas. I like Texas.
No, I like Texas too.
Man, that's very good for them. Well, welcome back. It's the Bill and Will Show with AB. And what you want to start off with, man?
I kind of like let's dive on into opening day. We got a lot of high caliber matchups coming up. With the Cubs Brewers, we're gonna have Nationals Yankees, and then obviously the Giants and Dodgers. We got some very high caliber matchups, and I think the game that's going to be probably arguably the most watched is going to be Yankees Nationals. I mean, you got Garrett Cole and Mark Scherzer. Scherzer had the chance to win the Pitcher of the Year with Cy Young Award last year, and I think you can make I guess you could go ahead and say that there is you can make an argument that there were a couple pitchers for the Nationals last year that could have won it right there with that Max Scherzer and Garrett Cole. What a fantastic! He's got an arm, man. The Yankees are going to be so solid this year with Judge and with Garrett Cole obviously, and then we're going to have that whole offense is just they're incredible.
I need the Yankees to be good again, people. I want the Yankees to be good. I'm ready for another World Series from the Yankees. I'm a Bean fan. I'm a Red Sox fan, but I like when the Yankees are good. I like that they haven't won in 10 years, man, and I like when they're good. I don't like them going out early. I don't like to see them struggle, and I think, like you said, I think Judge is out for a good year this year.
Oh, absolutely. And Judge, I mean, he was had a very arguably one of the best rookie seasons that I've ever seen a couple years ago, but he's just progressed to another different level, and he's even got Subway commercials. I actually just had Subway for lunch a little bit ago, but he's just a superstar, man. He's got many more MVPs coming his way, and I'm really just interested to see how many home runs he gets this year. I'm trying to see him get up into that 70 mark.
Well, it's going to be tough with 60 games, man. I'm hoping that they're able to finish the season. Baseball with everything going on, but I think they're the sport that doesn't have to worry about the distance. They're already
right.
20-something feet away each player,
right?
So they don't have to worry about that. But I think a lot of records go down this year. I think we see someone hit 400 this year, honestly, with 60 games. And honestly, to see 60 games, I think it's going to be a crapshoot. I don't know who's going to win.
Right.
I don't know who's going to come out of anywhere. The Nationals last year for me was a surprise team out of nowhere, beating the Astros. I don't know how good the Astros are going to be. They're always formidable for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of disappointed that we don't get to see fans in the stands for the first Astros game, so we can call them some cheaters. I was ready for
you. If you weren't going to say it, I was going to say it. So
I was ready for that. I don't know, the Dodgers, they're always on the precipice. They're always there, but they never can win the big games.
No, that's you know, I think the Dodgers are kind of the Notre Dame of Major League Baseball, like, because they can get there, and they were the #1 team in baseball for a while, and then they go ahead and get knocked in the first or second round, and it's just they have such a really good regular season, and it's almost like no discussion. Like it wasn't even close. The Dodgers were the #1 team in baseball last year, and then they get knocked out early, and it's just they have what it takes. And they end up either playing the Cubs, the Cardinals, or somebody in that NL that they just can't get past to get to that World Series, and they're just right there. They have what it takes. They just choke. There's no other way to put it.
And you say choke, and I look down and I see Clayton Kershaw.
No, dude, you're right. It's part of it does fall on Clayton Kershaw. He's kind of had that spell where he shows up in the early stages of the playoffs. He's one of the best pitchers right there in that Cy Young award-winning list, and he just can't finish. And it's not just, don't get me wrong, it's not just him, it's the entire team.
For sure.
But you have to look at
his game.
You have to look at the manager. You have to look at what surrounds that team, and I don't know what they can do to get over that hump. I mean, Clayton Kershaw, he's solid, but some of his most recent playoff numbers aren't the greatest. But I mean, again, it's not just him; it's the entire team. They all have to come together as a unit to be able to move on to that World Series, and not just move on and get to the World Series. But these teams over the past 5 years, they've had at least 3 teams that could have won the World Series. And right there, again, with the Cubs, when the Cubs and Dodgers played for the world, not for the NLCS. I mean, that team could have won the World Series. I mean, it's just they have the ingredients, they have the mixes, and it's just getting to that next level, and they haven't been able to do that.
Do you see what they need to get to that next level? For me, the days of I stopped watching after I thought the days when Puig was there. Okay,
right.
They could do it, but then you find out that Puig wasn't the player that they were all putting him there to be. Like right now, I don't think he's on a team right now. I think the Braves wanted to pick him up, but he got corona and something happened with him.
Right.
But
the Rona got him.
I think I think Magic Johnson, that magic that they tried to put on the whole team and everything, I thought that was their time. Do you see that their window is closed or it's closing?
No. I think it's still very much wide open. I mean, they still have many of the similar pieces that they've had over the past 5 years, and I really think that they could take it all this year. I really do. It's just such an electric offense, and that bullpen is nothing to mess with either. That's something that you can write home about and say, hey, better watch out for these Dodgers. And now I know we say that like almost every year, but I really do think that with the shortened season, I think it's prime example for the Dodgers to take advantage of this short season and take one home this year.
But that's even something to be said for the Dodgers, that that you can actually say, oh, they can take it this year. They can take it this year. You can't say that about a lot of teams like the Mets or some teams like this. You don't even mention their names.
Absolutely.
So for them to have that, it speaks volumes for the organization also.
Right. Yeah. And granted, I'm not a Dodger fan. I'm a Cubs fan at heart.
Okay.
But every season, the Dodgers are just right there, and they're always in that playoff discussion. They're always in the World Series discussion. And, the Giants, they've been having some down years recently, but they've started to build up as well. With Mad Bum there on the hill over the past couple of years, he's really taken the reins of this team. And The Giants, I definitely think they're going to be a good team to play with this year as well.
So if you had to pick the two that meet up in the World Series, who would you have to go?
I think it's gonna sound crazy, but I'm gonna have to go Yankees. If we can get Yankees and Dodgers,
that would be amazing.
That would be one of because my Cubs have already won the World Series. So we've already won. Hopefully we don't go another 108 years without winning one. So, but no, if we could see Yankees Dodgers, man, that would be absolutely a dream come true, and that would probably be the most watched series of all time.
I think it would. And you wouldn't even care who would win.
Right. Yeah.
It would be.
No, yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't even care. Like, I'm not a fan of either, but if I had to choose one, being a Cubs fan, I'd have to go with the Yankees because I can't cheer for the Dodgers. Okay. So, but no, I think my Cubs are going to do well this year too. With John Lester, DaviinDavis, and Kyle Hendricks, along with the homeboy Chris Bryant, and Anthony Rizzo, big Anthony Rizzo, and Javi Baez. I mean, the list just goes on and on. We have almost the exact same team. It's just our pitching. The Cubs pitching has just been real killer for us over the past couple of years. So if the Cubs can take care of the pitching, watch out for the Cubs this year too.
There you have it, man. Bill and Will Show. AB. Yeah, I like the Cubs.
Yeah, the Cubs, man, are good.
I like the Cubs. What was that? Opening day. Welcome back to the Bill and Will Show. We got a fill in for Gibson. My boy AB, man. What we going with next?
I think let's try and go with let's get a little Skinny Mellow going in here.
Skinny Mellow. Anytime on this show, anytime we have Mellow in the news, we got to talk about him. Yeah. That's my boy, man. I love Mellow since he was in college, man. I think he was a stud at Syracuse. I think he's a stud now, man. In his ups and downs, I love to follow the guy. So anytime we can talk about Mellow, we do. Let's talk about his slender new look, man. How do you feel about it?
Dude, the Rona. I mean, people would took some time off during the Rona. They kind of took some time to lay back. You look at Mellow, man. He done did some work. He done did some work in the off season, and especially during the Rona season. You look at him right now, his body shape, dude. He not only is he skinny, but he big. Like he built, man. He's looking probably arguably the best he's ever looked in the NBA outside of his rookie season.
I mean, a lot of people came out of the Rona with a few pounds on them.
Yep.
And Mellow, he took a couple of pages out of Duncan's book.
Yeah.
Came back slender. Hopefully he's moving back to his 3 position, and hopefully he can run around with those 3 guys. Here lately, when he was in the game 3 years before, he couldn't match up with the other small forwards on the floor. So hopefully with this new look, man, he can go out there and compete with those 3s because he's gonna need it, man. Dealing with those guys over there with LeBron at the 3, and with if he goes Jason Tatum, if he goes to the finals, and just players like those calibers getting switched off and having to guard 2s, and sometimes just having to guard 4s. I mean, he can do it, but we all know Melo's not a defender, people.
Yeah.
He's definitely a bucket getter. And I just love seeing Melo just try to conform to get back into the NBA, which he did, and trying to stay in the NBA. He's trying to stay in the league, man. And this new skinny Melo, you had hoodie Melo, you had USA Olympic Melo. You just got different Melos, man. I love it, man. He's definitely one of my favorite players.
Yeah, and I'm a Laker fan, but anytime you get to see Carmelo Anthony, you just know what a pure scorer he is. Mm-hmm. Him and James Harden, like whenever they get the ball in their hand, they're looking to score. Exactly. Now, I mean, Melo's gotten older, so he's been looking to dish a little more, but it comes with age. But he's got a great pairing there. He's coming off the bench some games and stuff like that playing with Dame Dolly. That's a great guy to play with. You know what I mean? I'm saying? You had a little experience playing with Dame.
I did, just a little bit. He's definitely I think them missing Trevor Ariza makes him. They're gonna put him back into the starting lineup, which is great for Melo. I know he hates coming off the bench. He's one of those guys. I know he hates coming off the bench, so it gets him back into that role of playing the 3. And I'm looking for Dame them to do some work, man. They gotta catch the Memphis Grizzlies, or at least tie with them to go into a playoff game, and we'll see how they do it against John Morant. But I think Dame is ready. I think CJ is ready, and I think Melo is ready. I think they can make a push to get. I hope they can make a push. I would love to see Dame versus LeBron in the first round.
Yeah.
Even though I think they fall in that matchup, I think Dame can get a game, maybe 2 games.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I did. For me, Anthony Davis is the scariest person over there at the Lakers. Man.
No, and I mean, we're talking about a guy who's really in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. He's just a stone wall up there, man.
Yeah.
You drive in the lane, you're not getting too many layups against that kid. So
it's a good thing Dame got a range of 30 out there, and Melo can shoot it, and CJ can shoot it. So hopefully they got a shooter's chance out there. But man, skinny Melo, I'm liking it.
Yeah, no, and people we're talking about Melo here, but don't forget about CJ McCollum. You know, he there were a couple of games last year where he was just dominant. He outscored Dame Doll a few games, and that he's one of those players that kind of flies under the radar. But then we saw last year in the NBA playoffs where he just took off. He just took off 30, 40, 50 point games and stuff like that.
He can definitely score the ball, man, for sure. So Melo, Melo, watch. We're gonna see what you can do in the playoffs, man. In these upcoming games, are you looking forward to the playoffs?
I am.
To the regular season?
I am. I'm looking forward to. Players are in the bubble. They're in Orlando, and we just saw today they tested all the NBA players. Zero positive COVID-19 tests. So obviously, incredible news in terms of sports coming back. So that kind of goes good up my alley. We're going to see some basketball here in the next few days, and with opening day coming up on Thursday and Friday, and things are starting to come back. Things are starting to come back, which is what we all wanted. And we know the U.S. is still the world leader in COVID-19 cases and deaths and stuff like that, but having the bubble in Orlando and seeing zero positive COVID-19 tests, that couldn't be any more better news for sports coming back. We saw some live baseball games over the past couple of days. The Yankees and Mets were live a couple days ago, and then the Cubs, White Sox were live last night. So I think we can go ahead and say that we're going to see some NBA basketball coming up here in the near future. And
the 23rd is preseason start.
Yeah, and that's the fact that we're going to see basketball again. Just I feel alive again. So we're going to be able to see some live NBA basketball, and then I'm still pulling for my Lakers to pull through here. So
I have to give a big thank you to TBT tournament. Did you watch any?
Yeah,
of that?
I did. I watched a little bit of it.
I think you could have took a little bit. I think the NBA was watching that also, so they probably took a little bit from that to see, and they actually finished, and that was a great tournament also. So they were at the forefront of it, and that was a good tournament. So hopefully that they took something from that, and we can continue this no positive test. Continue with that, and I know some players has left the bubble like Zion. And,
he had to attend
Michael Beasley
family
and other people. But hey, continue it, man. It's serious for sure.
Yeah, and I think that the discipline part of it's so easy to go to maybe try and go out of the bubble to get a pizza or something like that, or go and get a bite to eat, or go out and try and get some fresh air outside the bubble. But the players, I will say, the players have done really well with this. So I'm proud of the players for staying disciplined throughout this whole thing, and taking one for the team, even though they're just literally just staying in there and playing video games with everyone else. So we saw Jimmy Butler was in his hotel room. He was dripping in sweat. He got he got a noise complaint at 3 a.m. and an officer showed up at the door, and he didn't even know whose door it was at first. But officer came up or security guard came up and knocked on the door, and he's like, "Yeah, sir, we've been getting some noise complaints." He's like, "Sorry, I was just dribbling the ball and doing." He was doing suicides in the hall at 3 in the morning. So that just goes to show you the work ethic of Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, for sure, Jimmy Butler. Keep getting them buckets, baby. We see why you get buckets. So I love Jimmy Butler. Yeah, Jimmy Butler's amazing. Jimmy Butler's amazing. Welcome back to the Bill and Will Show. We have AB. What we going with next, man?
You know what? Let's go with the Big Ten. Let's go with the Big Ten.
The Big Ten.
It's been a big topic, not just the Big Ten. The SEC, the ACC, the Pac-12, the Big Ten. The Big 12. All these conferences talking about playing just solely conference games over this next college football season. So I guess we'll see kind of how that turns out.
Some of it makes sense. I can understand if you're a West Coast team and you don't want to go all the way to the East Coast,
right,
or if you're a vice versa, East Coast to West Coast team. Some things don't make sense because if you have, like I said before when we were talking, Iowa and Iowa State in the same in the same state, but not in the same conference, yeah. It gets murky. But I guess that's just you don't have a lot of
right. You kind of got to pick your poison a little bit.
Definitely, because like Texas and Texas A&M, they don't play each other, but they're in the same.
Right.
So I can understand it, and I can understand guys. You don't want to deal with other people's conferences, and you just want to deal with your conference because you got the same rules for everybody in your conference. So I definitely get that, but it definitely takes away those big games, like you said, Notre Dame, Alabama, or some other big games that we're going to see.
Yeah, and I don't want to. I want to look at games like Boise State and Oklahoma. We're not going to be able to see those types of games, and then one of the most rich rivalries in the whole country, Notre Dame versus USC. Those two teams have been playing together for the past 73 years. It's going to be the first time we're not going to be able to see that matchup, and hopefully we can. I think we're still going to be able to see the Red River rivalry between Oklahoma and Texas. So I think we're going to be able to still see a lot of those really high caliber matchups, but we're not going to get to see some of those big out of conference games. Like we're not going to get to see Auburn play Oregon. We're not going to get to see those types of games. We're going to get to see some of the best teams like Washington play. In Alabama, or Washington play Mississippi State or something like that. We're not going to get to see those games, but don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of really good games to look forward to in conference play. I mean, we're still going to get to see Bama, Georgia. We're going to get to see Georgia play, potentially Georgia play Auburn, but I think we're still going to get to see a lot of really high caliber games. The ACC is kind of a hit or miss because you got Clemson and then who else?
Who else?
But it's really going to be a lot of fun to be able to see Texas play Oklahoma, Bama play Georgia, and games like that.
I think Clemson. I'm glad that I don't have to see them play Texas A&M. I mean West Texas A&M or North Texas like they were on their schedule this year. So. My guy Gibson, he's a big Clemson fan, so I tell him, y'all, they don't play anybody. Right. And he's like, what do you mean we play everybody on our schedule? But they don't get to play Texas A&M either.
Right.
That's one of the big games on their schedule is Texas A&M, Clemson. They've been playing each other for the last couple of years, which has been a good game. But we do get to see the Alabama versus War Eagle versus Auburn game. I think that's one of my favorite games to watch.
Oh, absolutely. That's one of my favorite games to watch. Ever since the kick six happened back in I believe it was 2012. That's still one of my favorite plays in college football history. No matter who you cheer for, it's going back to watching the kick six game in 2012. That was just honestly one of the greatest plays of all time because not only was it a 100-yard touchdown, but it was a kick toward number 4 Auburn upset number 1 Alabama, and that was probably the first time in probably 4 years where we saw Alabama's title chances be like, whoa, they may not make it, but obviously they still ended up making it and beating the Notre Dame Fighting Irish like 48-14 or something. I stopped keeping track after they got it by 20, but it was still one of the most fantastic games that I've ever had the pleasure of watching in my entire life.
I'm definitely looking forward to that game this year because Alabama did lose last year to War Eagles, so Nick Saban got a revenge game on his hands, which I think they'll take care of business for sure. I don't see him beating them twice, but I'm definitely going to tune in and watch it because I love when Nick Saban gets beaten. He comes back and plays again because you can after the kick six game what happened after that. We see who won the game.
Right.
Nick Saban, he marks those in his calendar.
They definitely kind of lit a fire, a little bit of an extra fire. I mean, Bama always comes out with the chip on their shoulder, but after that game, they really took care of business and they weren't taking anything lightly after that because they weren't looking past Auburn, but they were kind of like, okay, we're still going to win this. I mean, it's going to be tough, but it'll be a tough game. But no, the kick six happened and the rest is history.
We got Michigan, Ohio State.
Yes,
of course, that's a big game.
And I think we've been talking about Bama, Georgia, but I think that Michigan Ohio State game, considering there's not going to be that many any non-conference games played this year, I think people are going to be circling that date on their calendar and looking to that Ohio State Michigan game and say, hey, if there's one conference game to look forward to, it's got to be the game at the big house or the game at the shoe.
It has to be. I think the coach over there at Michigan has to win the game.
Jim Harbaugh.
He has to win one of those. He's defeated in that game, and he hasn't. His job has to be up for grabs if he continues to lose this game.
Every time. It's it's going to be a good game. It's going to be a good game no matter what.
They're going to play at Michigan this year.
Yes. So, it's going to be played at the big house. So that even gives Jim Harbaugh more of an advantage to finally punch one through and get one of the big, the game this year. It's just – and here's the thing. I have so much respect for Michigan because they have one of the biggest fan bases and, the biggest stadium in the entire country. Mm-hmm. With 106,000 fans that can go to that game. We're not going to see that this year, but depending on how COVID-19 goes. But it just comes down to the fact that I think I kind of just did a little foreshadowing. We're not going to see fans, so that kind of evens the playing field out a little bit between Michigan and Ohio State. So I definitely think Jim. I don't think his job will be on the line this year because of the circumstances. But I think next year, if he can't get a win against Ohio State within the next 2 years, I think you might see Jim Harbaugh get the boot here.
I think, it's not going to help that Ohio State has the number one recruiting class in America. Yeah. They just stole a cornerback, from Clemson.
Yeah.
So I think Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I have a lot of like I said, I have a ton of respect for Michigan. They have a really solid team almost every year. They're one of the blue bloods of college football, and it's just Michigan's just one of those programs that you have to respect. No matter where they are in the rankings, you just got to respect them because they're just one of those steeple programs that they're just able to go out there. They play a fantastic style of game too. It's very electric. And the way that Jim Harbaugh organizes that offense and defense, we're talking about Jabril Peppers, a guy who came out of Michigan, and he was able to play both sides of the ball, and he anchored the offense and the defense a couple of years ago. So Michigan, they were just able to recruit so well, and you see time and time again. I think they just got a couple of 4-star prospects over this past week. But Michigan, they're one of the best blue blood programs, and they have the best winning percentage in the history of college football. So they're one of the best programs, and they're going to be definitely a team to watch for this year.
I'm definitely looking forward to that game, man. I want to see them beat them. I want to see them beat Ohio State. Ohio State to me is one of the best programs in the nation. They have been.
Always.
I think they would have won the national championship if their running back last year didn't rolled his ankle in the first half.
Yep.
It was really tough, but like you said, Michigan, it's the reason why they have a coach like Jim Harbaugh, because they are a prestigious college like they are.
Absolutely.
Because he's a big time coach.
Oh yeah, and Ohio State, they're going to be talk about a team that's always in the top 5 of the college football rankings. They're going to be great again this year. I wouldn't even be surprised if they took home the title because Justin Fields at quarterback and that defense. Whew, I'm just juiced up to see some college football. I'm just ready for it, man. I don't care who gets on the field. I'm just ready for it because we've been without sports for I don't know how long. It feels like 5 years because the last relevant sporting event that we've had was Super Bowl 54. Mm-hmm. So it's been a minute, but I'm just ready to see some more college football back out there.
There you go, guys. For you if you
Dude, and the sad part is, man, they said they weren't even going to come back. That's the sad part.
Oh, man, we predicted that on the show, man. That was so funny when we heard that. Then they had the turmoil between Vince and the other guys.
Vince McMahon, dude, Vince McMahon.
My man Rey Mysterio lost his eye yesterday in a match yesterday, man. Welcome back to the Bill and Will Show. We got my man AB here, man, talking sports. Hold on a second, guys. Welcome back to the Bill and Will Show. We got my boy AB here, man, talking sports. What you want to go to next, man?
Oh, man, let's see. Let's go to the Blitz. I'm interested to see what we got in there.
Man, Health-wise, NBA, a lot of NFL players were racking up Twitter yesterday because the NFL and the health concerns. and the guys are talking about not coming back and reporting to camp. You got guys like Patrick Mahomes, Drew Brees.
Alvin Kamara's been a big advocate for player safety throughout this whole thing, and
they said they're not going. They're going against everything that their guys are telling them. The health advisors are telling them, and they just hashtag we want to play. But they're saying if it's not safe, then they're not going to play. Do you think this is just posturing by the NFL what they're doing, or you think negotiation will get done for we'll see the NFL season?
I just think that it's just been, the NFL's, my favorite professional sports league. And, we've seen it with the NBA. They've came out with all of these rules and regulations about what they're going to do with COVID-19 and stuff like that. And they've done a great job. I mean, we just saw it with the NBA. They come out with 0 positive tests. And then the NFL, we haven't really heard much of them. We haven't really heard Commissioner Roger Goodell say anything about, hey, here's what we're going to do. Hey, the players can opt out. Like, we've seen MLB players say that, hey, I'm just like Buster Posey with the San Francisco Giants. He opted, one of the best baseball players and one of the most known baseball players, opted out of this baseball season that we're going to have here very shortly within this coming week. We just haven't seen anything from the NFL. We haven't seen statements. We haven't seen team doctors, or even we haven't seen anything from higher ups in the NFL come out and say, "Hey, here's our plan and here's how we plan to execute it." So we really haven't even seen any protocols or how they're going to end up playing an NFL football season, considering all these teams have to travel across the country. What the players are going to do, because, we look at Russell Wilson, what he said on Twitter over the past couple of days. His wife is pregnant, and he's got a family, and you have to wonder, he's been wondering, it's uncertain about what guys like Russell Wilson and really all these players in the NFL, what they're going to do to protect not only themselves while they're playing, but also when they come home to their families, and what protocols they're going to have to take. It's just a lot of uncertainty, and we haven't really seen much of the NFL over the past this whole time. And the NFL, ever since the Super Bowl, the COVID-19 hit right after the Super Bowl. And if there's one thing that the NFL had, was time throughout this whole thing. The Major League Baseball and the NBA, they had to make these quick decisions because their season was coming up. And we saw the NBA, they paused their season, and yet they still came up with a positive solution. Now, it would be pretty hard to put all these NFL players in a bubble and play, on a restricted, certain couple fields. But if there's one thing the NFL had, they had time because their season had ended before COVID-19 even hit us. And, we haven't really seen any protocols from February until now. We're here in July. We're getting ready to go toward August. Rookies report this week. Rookies report this week, and then players with injuries report right after that, and players without any injuries report after that. And then pretty soon you're going to have these we've already seen OTAs have been pushed back. And the NFL, they had 6 months. They had 6 months to come up with a game plan, and they still don't have one. And we haven't really heard anything from Roger Goodell or any doctors within the NFL come out with a really solid solution just yet.
The only thing I've heard from the NFL is no jersey exchanges.
As if that was going to be a major problem.
Hit each other for 60 minutes, but then after
don't change the jersey. Don't, heaven forbid you exchange the jersey after you've already been in contact and spat on and sweated on by the players.
As far as having a season, do I think the biggest sports league in the world will have a season? Yes. But
it probably won't start in September. I think we're going to see, I think we could probably see the NFL and maybe college football start in October, because I still think, if people just start wearing masks, I don't know if you know John Rothstein and the CBS college basketball analyst, he said, if you just wear a mask and social distance equals college sports by Labor Day. So, it's really just going to depend on how, the American people deal with this thing. And I don't think you have to live in fear, but you definitely can't be stupid about certain things.
For sure.
But no, it's just going to be interesting, because I think there is a very solid chance that we can see sports come back to normal by Labor Day. But also, I still think, if the United States still kind of trends toward having a lot of cases, I think we're going to see the NFL season be pushed back to the end of September to early October.
With the reports that we're going to have, it's going to just get worse in the fall. We're going to have one of the worst winters with the COVID. Do I see the NFL finishing? That's a harder question than whether we see NFL start. I think we will see the NFL will start. Yeah. But then after that, like you said, you got to travel across country. This is the hardest sport that's going to have to deal with the COVID because you have so many players. It takes so many staff members that's on the NFL team. Everybody, and there's no bubble.
Right.
They didn't want to do the bubble concept. They haven't went into the bubble.
I don't think they've really considered that even.
So I don't know what it's going to be. Go to practice, go home. Go to games, go home. And that's not gonna work. In my eyes.
Right. No, and that's the thing. Like you just said, you hit it pretty much the head right on the nail. I mean, they're going to be testing players 3 days before the game so that they get the results hopefully by Saturday or Sunday. But even then, I mean, they're going to be testing the players 3 days before the game, and they're going to test them right after so that they get the test on Wednesday, and then they're going to test them again on Wednesday to see if they can get those tests back in hopefully a timely fashion to see which players can play and which players can't. And something that's kind of been brought up is putting you could put everyone in quarantine, but putting the quarterbacks solely in a bubble or in a specific hotel room so that you can have quarterbacks to choose from when it comes game day. Because if you get all your quarterbacks, get all your quarterbacks with COVID-19, you're gonna have to kind of put Darren McFadden in the backfield or something like that.
I heard the Bucks coach talking about he's thinking about taking his third string or second string and third string or something like that and doing that exact thing.
Yeah.
Las Vegas, guys, it's open. It's just like the bubble you have in Orlando. You have enough hotels for enough people to stay there.
A lot of distractions.
You're going to have a lot of distractions. You're going to have a lot of distractions. Takes away from tourism. I understand that, but you're a $20 billion company. You know what I mean? Organization. I think like he said, you should have had a plan already, trying to enforce it. But right now, I think a lot of people are worried about it. And the bottom line with the billionaire owners, right now, as it stands, with no fans in the stands, they're looking at the bottom line and saying, "Oh, if we play games at this rate, with everything going on, we're going to lose money." So I think that has a lot to do with it also.
And while money shouldn't be the top priority, I mean, player safety, that's what should come first and foremost. I mean, it shouldn't even be a question. I mean, if you don't make $50 billion in revenue, oh wow, big deal. But I think it'd be more tragic if you got guys like Patrick Mahomes or an Alvin Kamara or even like a Saquon Barkley that came down with COVID-19 and something bad actually happened to those guys. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know, whether it be life-threatening or just getting sick. Whether it doesn't matter what spectrum it's on. You just don't want anything bad to happen to the players. And while there is some risk playing games in the NFL, I mean, you can't social distance in football like you can with golf and baseball. Football is a contact sport. You're going to be sweating on, and so it's just going to be really dependent on what solutions the NFL can come on. And here's the thing, that's why I'm not a team doctor. I don't know what solutions you could really come up with this. I mean, other than having all of the teams in like Iowa or something like that and playing in the cornfield or something like that. But no, it's really just going to be interesting to see how the NFL really comes out and handles this whole thing.
And it's definitely, we got what we said, 400 people tested negative for the coronavirus in NBA. Yeah. But then you flip it around and it's like, damn, do you really want to? You gotta, what is that? 30 teams times 53.
I think we're looking at probably about 800 players, something like that.
So it's difficult, and I can understand it, but that's why they get paid the big bucks. But give us football, please.
We need it.
We need football. Yeah, I think it's gonna be tough for the NFL.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one.
But man, you think a billionaire company can figure it out, man? You would think. Welcome back to the Bill and Will Show. My boy AB here. What we going to next, man?
All right, let's take a look at the let's see what we got in your picks. What do we got?
Your
here?
picks, man. Going back to the NBA, man. You touched on it a little bit with Anthony Davis being being a year running for the defensive player. LeBron James' coach, Frank Vogel, of course, put him for the MVP of the league. I wanted to get your picks, man, on the defensive player of the year, the MVP, the sixth man, coach of the year. What else you got out there?
Oh man, it's just so. I mean, if I could pick Jamal Crawford for sixth man of the year for like the 18th millionth time, I would. But no, I really think it's going to really come down to LeBron James and Giannis for the MVP this year. I mean, you could always throw in James Harden, former Sun Devil, forks up. Mm-hmm. My alma mater, but it's really just going to come down. I think it's really going to come down to LeBron and Giannis because I mean, you look at Giannis; he's put up career numbers, and his numbers have looked very almost advantageous to LeBron's numbers. I mean, it's not like we're just throwing Giannis in there just to throw him in there. I mean, he has the stats to back it up.
His team is the best in the league.
Hey, you know what? The best record, but I mean, LeBron's in it every year. I mean, he puts the team on his back every single year. He did it with the Cavs. He pretty much did it with the Heat. With Dwayne Wade and Ray Allen and Chris Bosh with all those guys. But it wasn't even close. LeBron James was the guy on that team, and it's even here in year 17. LeBron James. We saw a picture of him the other day with him. He got 6-pack abs, and he's 30 something. What is
35,
it? 35, 36. So, I mean, it's year 17. He still looks like a stud, and I really think LeBron's going to come down with the MVP this year.
I think that's the popular vote. I think a lot of guys wanted LeBron to win it. I think we haven't seen a guy win the MVP at 35 years old since Karl Malone. Karl Malone looked just like LeBron did when he was 35, all ripped up. So he definitely takes care of his body, man. It's between him and Giannis, and honestly, I would give it to LeBron. The last time the Bucks and LeBron played the Lakers, LeBron like he's his own team. The last time the Lakers and the Bucks played each other, it showed me a lot, man. LeBron at his age, leading the league in assists with 11 a game, 8 rebounds, 26 points. He's, as much as I'm not a LeBron fan, man, he's definitely deserving of the award, as is Giannis, but I think their teams are both equal. I think the Bucks are up 2 games. Mm-hmm. But if I were to vote today, I would have to give it to LeBron. Mm-hmm. I would have to give it to him. The most valuable player in the league, I definitely would go with LeBron.
Yeah, I would agree. And defensive player of the year, I mean, you have Anthony Davis, and I really can't even think of anybody else that really even comes to mind.
You got Patrick Beverly.
Yeah, how could I forget Patrick Beverly? The best trash talker in the NBA.
You got Marcus Smart. You got Rudy Gobert.
Yep.
But I think Anthony Davis might be that guy.
Yeah, I think he is too. I mean, Patrick Beverly. I think he prides himself. I know he prides himself on defense. Going up against guys like LeBron and Giannis, and going up against Dame Dolly. Chirping back and forth, and that's just one guy who is just very old school mentality. He has that old school mentality. Defense wins championships, and he lives up to the expectation, man.
Yeah.
He is cold-blooded. He's a cold-blooded killer, like Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. And he is just an electric guy to watch. I just love watching him play defense.
I think they got a couple of guys that can win some awards on that team.
Paul George, he's been showing out too.
Oh, Paul George is amazing, man. I think because you got Montrezl Harrell and you have Lou Williams for the Sixth Man of the Year award, along with a guy out of Oklahoma City. Forgot his Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah,
he's doing amazing this year. Who do you got of those 3 guys? Those are the front runners right now.
Oh man, I mean, we're still talking defense here.
Oh, I think Anthony Davis is hands down for both of us.
Okay. Oh man, Lou, man, he's just right there. I got to go with Lou, man. He's
I like Lou.
Him and Jamal Crawford have been 2 of the best Sixth Man of the Year guys that you could probably choose from over this past decade or so. But yeah, I'll go with Lou. I'll go with Lou this year.
Man, I like Dennis Schroeder. I like the way he's played this year in the surprise team of Oklahoma City. I can't believe they're 4th or 5th right now in the West. We're leading by Chris Paul, man. He's doing really well. I want to give it to Lou Will because you can give it to him every year, but I was down on Dennis Schroeder when he was with the Hawks, man. I didn't think he was a point guard that should have been leading the team, but he's came out and showed me that he could really play some basketball, man. So just off of that alone, and eating some humble pie with him, man, I'll give it to him and that award.
Okay.
Coach of the year, man.
I mean, it's gotta be Frank, man. It's gotta be Frank. It's gotta be. It's
best players.
It's gotta be, man.
So?
He's battled through a lot. I mean,
Going
away from the NBA, then coming back. I mean, he's done such a great job, and it's almost like
team didn't make the playoffs last
year.
year.
Right. Team didn't make the playoff. Granted, you got one of the greatest players to ever touch the court, LeBron James. So, I think it almost goes with it. But I also think I'm totally blanking on the Bucks coach, but I think he could go with it right now. I'm totally having a mind blank.
Budenholzer.
Yes, okay, Budenholzer, and I think he could probably get it as well. How he transformed the Bucks from a team that you wouldn't even think that would make the playoffs into now a contender. So I think he could get it as well.
I love a Nick Nurse. I love Nick Nurse.
Yep.
What he does after losing Leonard and coming back with this same nucleus, and they're still second in the East. I love Nick Nurse. If you want to put him up there, and he doesn't get enough credit in my eyes, maybe because he had a LeBron James and a D Wade on his team, Chris Bosh. But Spoelstra, he's a really good coach, man.
Yep.
He's a really good coach. Of course, you got you have the coach from the Nuggets that's really, really good. He's still up there every year. They're number 2 I think they're number 2 in the West right now too. But man, you convinced me. I forgot about Frank Vogel. Everyone said when he came in, he was just there to hold a job for.
Yep.
Who's their assistant coach right now? Is it Kidd that's their assistant coach right now?
Yeah, Walton.
No, their assistant right behind them. I think it's Jason Kidd that they added to take he's going to eventually. Everyone said he's going to take the job, but. To have the best player in the world and one of the top 5 players in the world, but you still have to win the game. You still have to make it all work. So, I like Frank Vogel up there.
Yeah, and Frank, he went away from the game, came back, and I just think it's not clear cut, but I think he's definitely one of the favorites this year.
I like that. I like Frank Vogel up there, man. We did. Because I wrote him off. I wrote Frank Vogel off like, it doesn't matter who's the coach, but it does matter.
Yeah.
And coaching does matter in sports, man, and he's getting it done with them guys. What else award do we have out there? Most improved player.
Most improved.
Pacquiao, Siakam, Bam Adebayo.
Okay.
You have Graham from the Heat.
I think Jokic is probably right up there too.
Jokic is playing really well.
He lost a few pounds. He was another one of those players that didn't skip workouts over the Rona. So.
I would definitely have to go with Bam Adebayo. I didn't know who this guy was last year at this time, and this year he made All-Star team. So for me, I would definitely have to go with Bam Adebayo, man, for sure. So those awards, the most improved guys, don't really get a lot of love. We don't really think about it too much, but he's coming, and Pacquiao Siakam also, man.
I've been a big Siakam fan over the past 4 years, and there's just the way he's developed his game. He's gotten quicker. He's been able to read the court a whole lot better over the past few years. So I think Siakam, I think he could get it too.
Yeah, for sure. He's started the game when he was 15 years old, so he's played less than 10 years in the game, and he's had so much more to go. He's so herky-jerky. He's unorthodox player, man, but he's so good.
Yeah, he is.
And he's leading that team right now, Kyle Lowry. So I definitely could. I wouldn't be mad if he got the award.
I wouldn't be surprised. I know Jimmy's great, but I wouldn't be surprised if Jimmy got somewhere tossed into one of these awards either, because he's really he hasn't really taken the league by storm, but he's just improved his game so much more that he's actually been worthy, but he's just showed a whole different level of his game that we really haven't seen over the past couple of years.
Yeah, I think Jimmy Butler is one of those guys that you whenever he goes to a team, you just see him go get better and better, just because of the team. The team adapts to him, to his style, his work ethic, and you didn't see it with the bad teams like when he went to the Wolves. That's why they're going to always be at the bottom of the barrel, because they don't want to buy into that work ethic. But you've seen it with the 76ers. I think when they lost Jimmy, I think that was the worst thing for those guys. But he went to a place where you got I think a whole bunch of guys that like that type of work. I think Spoelstra is that guy that loves work. He's came from the bottom of the organization of being a film guy and came all the way to the head coach. You got Pat Riley. We know how good of a guy he is.
One of the GOATs.
Yeah, so I think he picked the best fit. Now those guys, I wouldn't want to see him in the first round.
No, and that's just a really I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it just the heat. I mean, yeah, we saw what they did when they had LeBron and D Wade, but now we're seeing a whole different Heat team with it's just you get just a whole bunch of young nucleus, and they're just. I don't know how to really other say it, but they're just gelling. They're just playing really good basketball.
For sure, they got a lot. Last time I seen them play against Giannis in the Bucks, they destroyed Giannis in the Bucks the last time they played them. And it was in the latter months of before the Corona hit, and the Bucks went down there to Miami, and they have a lot of long, lanky guys out there to throw at Giannis, and they got guys that can shoot it from the parking lot. You got Robinson, you got Hero. You got guys like those young guys coming in shooting the ball.
Had a couple shots from South Beach. So.
Yeah. So there you go with our awards, man. We got a couple more here.
Yeah, let's do it.
What is that?
I don't know much about UFC, but I can do my best.
Let's start it off then. Welcome back to the Bill and Will Show. We got my guy AB here, and we're gonna go to the UFC, man. Did you watch the UFC, the prior one, the Masvidal versus Usman?
No, I've watched a couple of UFC. I'm not a huge UFC guy, but I've watched a couple fights over the past few, and that was one of the first live sports that we were actually able to see over these past few months. And both of us, we love our sports. So, getting to see some live sporting events. I mean, we saw some people out at the bars, people over at restaurants, just tune it. They were just locked in. And if you had some UFC fight just on the TV over the past few years, you wouldn't really think much of it. But that was probably our first live sporting event that we saw, and it was kind of weird not having a crowd there. You could actually hear what the fighters were saying to each other, and you could hear the jaw cracks, and you could hear the eye punches and stuff like that. So I had a lot of fun watching a couple of UFC fights over the past couple of weeks.
I'm a huge UFC fan, man. The one big fight that just got announced was Adesanya versus who was that here? Who was it? Costa. Sorry, they've been going back and forth for months, man. Since the last UFC fight. I think the last one before they shut the bars down the first time, man. Back in March, Adesanya fought, and it was a horrible fight. His opponent didn't want to fight. He didn't want to fight against him. So. They announced that he's going to fight Paulo Costa on September 19th. It was a big announcement for UFC world. I'm looking forward to that fight. And also, George Masvidal, a Florida guy, fought, and he lost against the champion here recently. A lot of foot stomping in that fight, so you really didn't. But that fight was, like you said, one of the biggest fights that we've seen so far. It got like 1.3 million views during the COVID outbreak. So like you said, a lot of people are trying to find something to watch.
So yeah, just something to kind of just bring us all together.
Exactly.
And I think in the early months, in the early days of June and all the way back into April, or back into May, at the end of May and early June, I think that was kind of something that kind of gave us a little kind of some life back into the sports world, because before that we were just like, okay, we were anticipating like what was going to come first, golf or UFC, or was going to be baseball. We had Korean baseball on for a little bit, just for a while, but it was UFC, and that was probably the first time that I had really got excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is like it's UFC, like it's sports are back. So that was just something that I kind of really enjoyed, and although I don't know the fighters that well, I still had a lot of fun, just getting to enjoy a live sporting event.
And they UFC and Dana White, they've definitely been spearheading everything. They haven't stopped. They went and bought a whole island in Abu Dhabi just to have fights and put on, so they're not structured with the laws and stuff here. So they definitely been spearheading everything, man. But I'm definitely looking forward to that September 19th. That fight was one of their biggest stars, Adesanya from New Zealand. He's definitely going to put on a show. But like you said, man, I think right now you could put on figure skating and a lot of people will watch it.
Right.
I think cornhole is actually leading in ratings right now.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because back in my hometown of South Bend, Indiana, they actually had a televised cornhole match on ESPN2, and at first I was just watching it at this. I was at a restaurant. I was just watching. I was just kind of like scanning the TVs, and then all of a sudden, I see a billboard with the 574 area. That's what our area code is, 574. So I look up and I'm like, wait a minute. Like that looks familiar. And it's right over at Four Winds Field where the South Bend Cubs play, and they were having a live cornhole match at Four Winds Field in South Bend, Indiana. It was on ESPN2. I was like, oh my, like that's awesome. That's incredible.
I didn't know how big cornhole was.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal, especially for people in the Midwest. We do not call it bags. People I know in California and other places, like in Phoenix, some people call it bags. I'm just like, at first, someone was like, hey, you want to play bags? I'm like, oh, is that a board game or is that something? Like, no, they call cornhole bags, and I'm just like, no, like quit capping. Like, you need to stop it. You need to stop with that. Like, it is called cornhole, ladies and gentlemen.
But yeah, because cornhole was getting just as much rating as the boxing matches that Top Rank was putting on. So,
absolutely. I think UFC was probably a little higher than the cornhole because I just think that's just one of America's pastimes. Just watching fights, buying it on pay-per-view. No matter who you are, you're gonna sit down and watch Khabib, McGregor, or whoever. Like, I don't even know if those two can go up against each other, but you know, guys like McGregor, guys like Khabib, you know, those are just guys that are big time match, and I actually think those two have actually fought together, if I'm not mistaken. But because if I remember correctly, wasn't some altercation at a bus to where it was either McGregor threw something inside of a bus and it cracked the UK. So see, I know a little bit. Okay, so I'm not too far off. But you know, if you guys you're watching some of these, just being able to watch, like I said, a main sporting event like UFC is just so fun to watch, and it was one of our only options to watch. And I think we like Dana White was saying a couple weeks ago, he was just saying that the ratings have been very steady. They've been steady. They haven't really dipped at all. And I mean, granted, it's been one of the few things to watch, but people are still tuning in, and no matter who you are, or where you are, people are still tuning in to watch some UFC.
Yeah, for sure. So UFC continue to bring us good matches, man. I'm not gonna pay $84 for your event, but I'll definitely try to catch it on the Fire Stick.
Let's do it.